The story for today is found in the book of Genesis. Many years have passed since Abraham's test on Mount Moriah. Abraham was now very old. He is 140 years of age. Sarah, his wife, had already died. Their son, Isaac, is now 40 years old. Abraham wanted to be sure before he died that his family would continue on according to God's promise. In order for his descendants to continue, Isaac needs to have a wife. In that part of the world at that time, parents usually decided who their children would marry. And so, Abraham gave Eliezar, his most trusted servant, the responsibility of finding a bride for Isaac. Abraham said to Eliezar, "Give me your solemn promise before the Lord that you will not choose a wife for Isaac from among these Canaanite people." The Canaanites were sinful people who worshipped idols and did not believe in the true and living God. Abraham did not want Canaanites brought into his home because they could lead his family away from God. It's easy to be led the wrong way because of the sin in each person's heart. That's why Abraham told Eliezar to go back to his relatives in Haran and find a wife for Isaac there. Eliezar prepared for the long journey. Haran was very, very far. He and some other servants gathered food, blankets, and tents and loaded them onto 10 camels for the trip. Abraham also gave Eliezar gifts to give to the woman and her family: beautiful clothes and expensive jewelry made of gold, silver, and precious gems. Eliezar and the servants started on their long, tiring journey. Day after day, week after week, they plodded along on camels through the hot, dusty desert. Questions must have filled Eliezar's mind. How long will I find the right woman? Will she be willing to make this long journey back to Canaan? Will her family agree? Will Isaac be pleased with the woman I choose? Still, he continued with the journey. After weeks of travel, Eliezar arrived at the city of Abraham's relatives. The tired camels knelt by a well outside the city, and the servants sat down to rest. It was toward evening, and as Eliezar looked toward the city, he saw that the women were coming to get water for their families. This would be Eliezar's opportunity to find a wife for Isaac. But how would he know which woman to choose? Eliezar believed God was in control of this situation, and he asked God for guidance. Eliezar prayed that God would show him the right woman in a very specific way. "O God of my master Abraham, help me to have success. I will ask one of these women for a drink. If she agrees and says, 'I will get water for your camels to drink too,' I will know she is the one you have for Isaac to marry." In that country, a woman would not talk to a man she didn't know. If this woman would be willing to talk to Eliezar and give him a drink, and then even give water to his camels, there would be no doubt that she was the one. The Bible says that while Eliezar was still praying, a lovely young woman came to the well. Eliezar watched as she went down to the well and filled her pitcher, then put it on her shoulder and carried it back up. He hurried over to her and asked for a drink of water. She took the pitcher from her shoulder. "Drink," she said. This was the first answer to Eliezar's prayer. After Eliezar drank, she said, "I will give water to your camels too, until they have enough to drink." Eliezar must have watched with amazement as the woman quickly emptied her pitcher of water to the trough and ran back to the well to refill her pitcher. She did this over and over until the camels were satisfied. She made many trips back and forth with a heavy water pitcher because thirsty camels can drink a lot of water. She was clearly a kind person and a hard worker. God had answered the second part of Eliezar's prayer. When the woman had finished giving water to the camels, Eliezar gave her a ring and 2 bracelets made of gold. It was probably then that Eliezar learned that her name was Rebekah. "Whose daughter are you?" he asked. "Is there room in your father's house for us to stay tonight?" "My father is Bethuel, and his father is Nahor," Rebekah said. Eliezar must have smiled. Nahor was Abraham's brother. Rebekah continued, "We have both straw and feed enough for your camels. Also, there is room for you to stay with us." Eliezar bowed his head and thanked God for his guidance. "Blessed be the God of my master Abraham," Eliezar prayed. "He has led me to the right place." When Rebekah realized that this man was a servant of her relative Abraham, she was excited. She left Eliezar and ran home to tell her family all that happened to the well. When Rebekah's brother Laban heard her story and saw the beautiful jewelry Eliezar had given her, he hurried back to the well and invited Eliezar to come to their home for a meal and a place to sleep. At Rebekah's house, Eliezar said, "I can't eat until I tell you why I have come." He told Rebekah and her family all about how God had blessed Abraham and about Abraham's son Isaac. He told them about the promise he had made to Abraham to find a wife for Isaac from among Abraham's relatives. Then he told them about his prayer for guidance at the well and how Rebekah did exactly as he had prayed. Rebekah's eyes must have opened wide in surprise as she listened to Eliezar's story. "God has guided me to your house and your daughter," Eliezar said. "Now please tell me if you will be kind to my master. Is your answer yes or no, so that I will know what to do?" Rebekah's father and brother agreed. "This must be from the Lord," they said. "Take Rebekah and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son." How relieved Eliezar must have been! God had answered his prayer. Eliezar was glad he asked God for guidance in this important decision. The next morning, Eliezar was ready to take Rebekah to meet Isaac. But Rebekah's mother and brother suggested that Rebekah wait 10 days and then go. Eliezar must have felt frustrated. He was ready to go immediately. They asked Rebekah what she wanted to do. "I will go," Rebekah said. She knew in her heart that this was God's plan for her. After what must have been a sad goodbye from her family, Rebekah joined Eliezar's caravan, and the big camels started their long journey home. Late in the day, several weeks later, the caravan arrived in Canaan. Isaac was walking in his father's field, perhaps praying about the woman God would choose for him. As he looked up and saw the caravan approaching, his heart must have beat a little faster. And that is the end of the story.